Hello friends, this is day 8 of documenting my creative consistency. I want to share two things with you today. First, I will give a brief update on how my project has been going, because there is a valuable insight to extract from it. Second, I will share a lesson or an insight directly related to how to keep going when you encounter one of the most overlooked obstacles on the journey of pursuing your goals and, again, staying consistent in that pursuit. First, a brief update. As you know, probably most of you who will be watching this know, I'm writing every single day. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing for the past 5 years. The only thing that's different right now is that I have an added project. There are seasons. When you are doing something for years, there are seasons of more intense work, seasons of less intense and more stable routine, more stable work. This is now a more intense season where I'm creating a existential boot camp, which is going to be a comprehensive educational and transformational resource to help people gain that existential momentum. What is existential momentum for those who are not familiar with philosophical and psychological jargon? Well, it's meant, existential momentum would mean regaining a sense of being engaged in life, involved in life, and in control, not control over the entirety of your life and all the outcomes of your life, but control over your engagement, control over the energy that you are putting into life, control over the effort that you're able to put into different things that you care about. To put that aside, I will be talking more about the project as the time goes on. Now what's important to share is something that's more relevant for you. And that's that I'm going to be soon setting a deadline for myself. So I want to share with you the importance of deadlines. This is day 8. So for the past 8 days, I've been working on the project. I've been brainstorming, developing the structure so that I talked about it before, developing the structure of the existential bootcamp so that it's not structure according to what looks nice or makes sense, structure influenced by the educational system that's been somehow translated onto the online world and online education. Developing a structure to accommodate for the individual that needs what I'm trying to give them. The individual that feels stuck, so needs to regain their sense of existential momentum. Developing the structure that from the outside view may look chaotic, but it will make perfect sense for the person who actually needs the resource. So, brainstorming, preparing the structure, starting to write different lessons, starting to write the actual curriculum and the content of the curriculum. However, it's come a time to set a clear deadline. Today is, I don't even know what day is today, to be completely honest. I just know that it's day 8. I'm not even completely sure of that. Anyway, I'm giving myself until the end of this week, whenever that is in 2 or 3 days, to set a clear deadline for when the first version of Existential Bootcamp will be complete. Meaning I will have recorded all of the lessons, not just writing all of the lessons, editing them, doing all the preparation, then recording all of the lessons, then organizing all of that on a platform that I haven't decided yet where I'm going to host all of this. So I gave myself first, without a deadline, because I knew it will take 7 to 10 days to develop some sort of structure. A lot of brainstorming has been going on for the past months even, and taking notes and leaving voice notes to myself and writing down different ideas. Then when I started recording this series, I got to actual work of preparation, brainstorming, more concrete brainstorming structure, then it's time to give yourself a deadline. So why is this relevant for you? Because deadlines are one of the greatest enhancers of life. And that can sound crazy. How can a deadline enhance my life? Well, it's highly likely that you watching this are a person who is creative, who has ideas, who has ambitions, and isn't really satisfied with how they've been executing on them. And I'm one of those people. My whole life, I've been the creative kid. I mean, maybe not in everyone's eyes, but I knew that I was the creative kid. But the creative kid who isn't executing, and later on, creative young man, and I don't know if I still count as a young man, but hopefully a man. But a creative person who isn't executing enough on his ideas. And one of the biggest changes in my life came when I embraced the idea that deadlines aren't just what you know from professional life and from the school system, something that you hate because someone is imposing this deadline on you to complete in a certain period of time, something that you don't want to be even doing. When you give a deadline to yourself, and maybe you have an accountability partner, even better, so someone else knows about the deadline, it's once again one of the greatest enhancers of life. Because there is finally something concrete. You are putting some healthy limitations on your creative energy, on your creative work. I'm, as I said, give myself a couple of more days to analyze the structure that I have prepared so that I can make a realistic deadline. What is a realistic deadline? Well, I want to push myself. But the thing is, we usually overestimate our ability to stick to the deadline. So, really, unless you are an exceptionally well organized person, really any type of deadline will be pushing yourself. Because it's highly probable that if you didn't set a deadline, you wouldn't even finish the project. So then any type of deadline is pushing yourself. But let's say I have a bit more experience, so I can play around with different ideas. Okay, what is giving myself enough time so that I'm not fully stressed out. So giving myself just enough time that it's also pushing me. It's allowing me time for quality, but it's also pushing me, not letting me overthink, not letting me overanalyze, not letting me over-edit what I'm creating. So deadlines, friends. If you don't have deadlines, what do you expect? What do you expect? And I've been again, I can relate to you. I've been the guy who, okay, let me start this piece of writing, let me start this or that, and I will finish it when it's ready. It doesn't work, or it rarely works. So once again, deadlines crucial on your creative pursuit. And as always, I repeat always, creative doesn't mean only that you are producing works of art. Creativity is something way broader. So your creative pursuit can be something other than writing, painting, drawing, singing, making videos. It can be so many different things. That's why when I say creativity, creative pursuit, creative project, don't feel that doesn't apply to you. Probably it applies to every single person watching this. Every single person watching this has some form of creative desire, creative project that they've been thinking on, They definitely have, because they're a human being. They definitely have creative energy. So that's a side tangent, but an important one, I believe. That's it. Deadlines. You need them. They will make your life better. They will force you to finish the project. If you don't have deadlines, you're basically accepting that you probably won't finish the project, that you probably won't even execute on the idea. That's it. Second thing that I wanted to talk about, a major overlooked obstacle on the journey of, again, pursuing your goals and being consistent in the pursuit of your goals. One of the major obstacles to being consistent is the drop of enthusiasm. On the very first day, I talked about me accepting that it's going to be messy and ugly, and I've explained in multiple videos what that means, and I will still be talking about it. I will probably in a couple of days again share a messy and ugly part of the journey. But one thing I didn't mention is also anticipating the suck. Anticipating the suck, not just in the sense of difficult work of effort. There is the kind of online motivational phrase of embracing the suck, which is cool, and I'm guessing it's mostly about difficulty. Well, when I say anticipating the suck, maybe I should come up with a different phrase. It's anticipating the drop in enthusiasm. Because when you start something, yeah, it's difficult, but there is that initial enthusiasm. Okay, yeah, this is it. I'm starting something new. How exciting. And the initial enthusiasm can last a couple of days, maybe depending on the project, it can last a week or two. But it's inevitable that it's going to drop at some point and disappear. A new wave of enthusiasm might come later on, but the initial enthusiasm has to disappear at some point, and you have to be left in a place of almost lethargy, in a place of, the simplest way would be to say in a place of a lack of enthusiasm, but I want to paint the picture more clearly. In a place where you are kind of exhausted, but you're not exhausted from the amount of effort. You're exhausted because suddenly a separate energy that you had is like you had two fuel tanks. You had your usual energy that you have to produce effort, and then you had this additional tank of energy that was the beginner's enthusiasm. And then suddenly it feels like, what's this? I'm left just now with one tank of energy, one tank of fuel. I've been robbed of a whole tank of fuel and energy. That was that enthusiasm. So it's a strange place to be in. And it's a place that you cannot avoid ending up in at some point. So then what would be the best way to deal with it? Is to anticipate it. Because you know for certain you will not avoid it. Then anticipate it. And that's what I've been doing. To be completely honest, I don't need enthusiasm. I don't need the beginner's enthusiasm because I'm in a deep, meaningful relationship with what I'm doing. So I don't want to sound pretentious, but I know that this is why I'm alive. I know that 3 years ago I didn't want to live. I know that 4 years ago some other people didn't want me to live and wanted to take my life. So I've been given not a second chance in life. I've been given a second chance in life 2 times, and I know this is why I'm alive. I know I'm alive to talk about these ideas, to write about these ideas. For those maybe who are new here, I'm not talking about consistency. That's not why I'm alive. Yeah, that's all cool. But this is just me documenting my journey. I'm alive to talk about the existential questions that we are facing, that when initially faced are extremely uncomfortable, but on the other side of them, there is unconditional love and passion for life, deep engagement in life, joy, unlike anything else that you've ever felt, joy that can be only compared with childlike innocence and that childlike excitement with life and everything in it. That's why I'm here. I'm here to talk about how neurosis, how depression, anxiety, and different internal conflicts are not signs that you are sick, are not signs that you have a brain disease, are not signs that you are messed up, but that there are signals from your psyche and your soul that you're not addressing something in your life. And they are usually the initial stages of genuine personal growth. That's why I'm here. Because I've been the person who thought that he was going insane. I was a person who thought that there is something deeply wrong about me, something messed up about me. I was the person who, not every single day, but every single hour, thought, will this ever change? Will this inner hell, this constant battle with my own thoughts, will it ever change? Will it ever end? On an hourly level, hourly basis, thinking about, will this ever change? Will I ever get better? Why am I so messed up? Why am I so broken? And I came out on the other side of that with, as I said, unconditional love and passion for life. I've came out on the other side of that knowing that that was an initiation process into genuine growth. I came out on the other side of that learning that all of those inner conflicts and suffering were signs of my psyche or my soul still being healthy enough to fight for a better life, rather than all of those conflicts being signs of me being messed up. So that's why I'm alive. Literally, that's why I'm alive. Okay, this was this was an unplanned side rant, but I wanted to say that's why I have to be honest and say I don't need beginner's enthusiasm anymore. This is what I live for. So I will wake up and show up every day for this. But it does help. Beginner's enthusiasm does help. That's for certain. To go back on the original train of thought is anticipating that beginner's enthusiasm will disappear. And here is one, if I can take my example. Yes, there was some initial enthusiasm regarding starting a new project. Okay, existential bootcamp, and I'm still excited about it. But there was that initial enthusiasm around, okay, new project, and it hasn't disappeared completely, that feeling. But for me, it was double because I started documenting it. So that was another major layer of enthusiasm. Wow, okay, I'm doing something new. I'm documenting this on YouTube. This is something I haven't done before. So how cool. That brought a more significant portion of that beginners or initial enthusiasm. And then already at this point, I can be honest with you, I think it was yesterday where I felt like, why bother documenting this, It's, yeah, whatever. I know that what I'm creating has an audience, has people that are interested in it. It's not like I'm making these videos to promote my project. It's quite literally just documenting it and showing how I'm staying consistent and sharing some things along the way. So, yeah, why bother doing it, It's not taking too much time and effort, but it's not something that comes natural to me. I don't know how I look. Probably you see me sometimes stumbling over my words, but maybe overall I seem, hopefully overall I seem okay in front of the camera, but that doesn't come naturally to me. It's just a matter of reps, and it's a matter of me having, maybe at this point, I'm not comfortable saying thousands, but multiple hundreds of hours in front of camera on live calls and workshops, and decent amount of YouTube videos. I think I have around, 100 counting some shorts, but anyway, I do have officially over 100 YouTube videos. So all of that amounts to me being able to speak in front of the camera, but it's furthest or farthest, I'm not sure, furthest, hopefully, thing away from being natural to me. So yeah, again, with the drop of enthusiasm, which was supposed to come naturally, I started thinking like, why bother doing this another 20 something days that I committed to, because I committed to doing at least 30 days, but maybe it will end up being more, depending on when I set the deadline for the existential bootcamp. And thinking, yeah, who is going to do this for another 20 something days? Like, especially with moving, and if I go to another country, that will be a couple of chaotic days. But I anticipated it. I knew that they will come sooner or later when I started doubting the project. Not necessarily this project, but the project of documenting. Excuse me. I knew it would happen. So, yeah, in all honesty, the enthusiasm significantly dropped for the project of documenting this. Yeah, yesterday and today, the enthusiasm for recording these things isn't really there, but I'm going to keep doing it. Once again, I anticipated it. I knew that it will happen. The drop in enthusiasm, and it was never supposed to be the main source of energy. So maybe that's a message for you. Enthusiasm cannot be, shouldn't be ever the main source of fuel or energy, however you want to look at it. There is I don't know how to call it. Is it nitro? I don't know anything about cars, to be honest, but I know when I was a kid playing the Need for Speed game, Need for Speed Most Wanted, and Need for Speed Carbon, something like that. Those two those were some of my favorite games on PC, and those are also the only games about cars that I was interested in. So there is, I'm guessing this is, again, forgive my ignorance when it comes to cars, but there is, this nitro, something that you add, and then it like kind of boosts your speed. Again, probably this sounds silly, especially coming from a man, because us men are supposed to be interested in cars, but I'm not, to be honest. So that's how I look at enthusiasm. I mean, yeah, it's great to have it. It's a good boost, but it's separate from the original tank or fuel tank, and it's small, because I remember when customizing those cars, again, I don't know if that is true, but that's how it looked like. Nitro is just one small bottle, 10 times smaller than the original fuel tank. That's enthusiasm. It's great to have it. It's a great boost to have, but you cannot look at it as your fuel tank. You cannot look at it as your source of energy, your source of, again, momentum. That's it. I'm hoping this analogy with nitro, I'm not sure. I'm hoping it lands. But yeah, friends, that's it. That's one thing that I'm excited about is, and maybe I will leave this in more depth for the next video. But I'm excited about the fact that I get to be a nobody once again. Because let's be real, that's what I am on YouTube as a platform. If you look at statistics, metrics, whatever. I mean, I don't feel like nobody. I know there are people out there who care, to see what I have to say. That's amazing. I'm blessed, but I'm excited about the fact that I get to create this new journey and look back on this journey. Because, again, most of you know that I've been on Instagram for 5 years and I have almost 200,000 people following me, and by far the coolest thing is to look at the beginnings and to look at the progression. Although I couldn't care less about numbers at this point, that's also another story. So there are many stories to tell, but that's another story where, I mean, there are people now going viral and gaining hundreds of thousands and even millions of followers in a span of a couple of months. So my 200,000, I could be a complete idiot and look at it and say, 200,000 in 5 years, that's not a lot. Again, I could be an idiot and think like that. And, be tempted to go down that route of focusing on numbers because so many flashy people online. But I've established myself there beyond, and I appreciate the support beyond what is possible to express in words. However, there is something exciting. There is something exciting about, in a way, starting over, because I get again to look back on this period. That's super interesting. For example, last 2 videos or 3 videos haven't even hit 100 views, and I don't know if you would believe me, but for me it's cool. It's genuinely cool. I mean, would I want? Of course, yeah. I would love to receive tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of views. I don't see this video series as something that is supposed to do that. My scripted educational videos should do that. I'm hoping next video about Jungian perspective on why struggling to get out of bed, or Jungian perspective on why you're struggling to get out of bed and why getting out of bed is a heroic act. I would love that video, to get a lot of views. Wow, it would be amazing if it got 1 million views. I have no expectations, but certainly I have hopes. But when it comes to this series, I think it's not meant to it's not supposed to, the way that I'm creating it, it's not supposed to be something that's going to be seen by too many people, at least not now, but maybe 10 years from now, when I'm a well-established figure in the space of existential education, humanistic education, storytelling, mental health talk. Maybe some people will come back and look at my humble beginnings. Although it's difficult to claim that this is a beginning, but some sort of a new beginning. So yeah, it's interesting. Again, for those of you who are starting out, I will talk more about this, but for now, let me just tell you, there is a genuine reason to be excited when you're just starting out, when you are getting very little or no views. I know it can be frustrating, but it can also be extremely exciting if you know how to look at your life like a story. I will expand more on that, because if I now start talking about looking at your life as a story, this will turn into a hour-long solo podcast. So for now, friends, set those deadlines. Don't joke around. Don't fool around. Set those deadlines and anticipate the drop in initial enthusiasm. Setting deadlines will force you to show up and to complete the project. And anticipating the drop in initial enthusiasm will make you realize that that's not supposed to be your main source of energy, and that will allow you to proceed showing up when that source of energy disappears. So that's it. Hopefully you found this helpful. We'll keep showing up. Thank you, as always, for those of you who are showing up here to hear what I have to say. I truly, truly, truly appreciate you. Let's keep showing up together. Thank you. Stay strong, love life, and never feel sorry for yourself.